as I said, there's not much evidence about juries because of the Contempt of Court Act, which means that we can't study juries and how they decide cases in detail. But if you look at research into how witnesses feel, how complainers feel, who go into courts and are cross-examined, actually it's a really alienating experience for most people. And I suppose for me, one of the interesting questions is this fixable, or is it not? Is the alienation just a feature of how criminal law works? And is it always going to be there, or can we make it better? Can we improve it even if we can't fix it? And I know that kind of victim-centred approach is something which has been a big feature of contemporary law reform discussion. I'm a bit sceptical, really, about whether criminal justice can ever really be a responsive, particularly comfortable experience, because it's not a mechanism to get to the truth. It's about whether a particular charge is proven or not proven, and that is its technical function. And I'm not sure if it can serve all of the ends of justice that some people might hope.
Can I just ask how that 1% figure compares to other countries?
Well, that's an interesting question. I haven't actually been able to look into the English figures because they're arranged in a slightly different line. But actually in England, you do have some right to be tried by juries. The same is not true in Scotland. In Scotland, the Procurator Fiscal decides we get prosecuted, whereas in England there are things called either way offences, in which you can be tried by benches of lay magistrates or by Crown Court juries. I think in reality, though, in Britain overall, the image we have about the centrality of trial by jury is largely a fantasy. Most trials here, most trials on the continent where they have professional judiciaries and no juries in places like the Netherlands, most decisions about criminal justice are made by professional or lay judges already. So in some ways, this focus on trial by jury actually just encourages a fantasy. Chances are, if you're charged with an offence, whether it was you or whether it was Kate or myself, we'd find a judge on the other end of the courtroom. And in some ways, it's quite an interesting question about why this fantasy that juries are a core feature of British justice has been able to sustain itself in the face of, reality.
It just reminds me, there's a Yes Minister bit where he says sometimes the Crown is trying so hard for a conviction that the jury gives not guilty just to annoy them.
Well, we can never tell, thanks to the Contempt of Court Act. No one can ever know. Okay, well, we're having a good chat for about coming up for an hour now, so I suppose that's an opportune moment to end this episode of the podcast.
Are we going to mention Michael McMahon?
I think not. I think Michael McMahon is best drawn a discreet veil over.
Okay. What's he done? What have I missed?
We'll tell you off air. We'll leave that as a tantalising, teasing thing for the listeners.
There we are.
Sleep tonight now.
I know. Just leave a significant ellipse. And grand. Well, that's a nice spot to close episode 15 of the podcast. Kate, thanks so much for coming on and having a wee chat with about various issues. I do hope you'll come back and share your thoughts as we march slowly but inexorably towards 2014, because I think you've got lots of interesting stuff to say. So anyway, thank you very much, Kate, for coming on.
Thanks for asking me. I really enjoyed it, and I'd love to come back on if you'll have me.
Splendid. I'm sure we will. And we'll be back again next week with any luck to have yet more discussion about various things that have been going on recently and perhaps haven't been discussed recently about Scottish politics, and hopefully with another guest to bring a new perspective to bear on this critical conversation that we're having about the fate of the nation. So we'll see you then. Cheerio.
Cheerio.
Talk is cheap.
That's right, honey.
maybe just for the second time in this podcast, I'm going to overstep the mark.